Shedeur Sanders finds himself in a remarkable position.
Let's go.
Y'all look at it as like a competition.
My answer to this question would be Deshaun Watson.
I think each and every person that walks into this locker room should have that mindset that you want to start. That's why we show up each and every day.
This is the most important thing I have to do in my life.
Good news.
All right, so a lot of talk about how good Deshaun Watson looked in his debut, or this preseason debut, for the Cleveland Browns. And then Shedeur Sanders in the second half. He'll get the start in their second game. What did you see from Shedeur in week one?
A good moment, and then some moments that we have to grow. So this is early on. Shedeur starts the game well. This is early on in the game. It's third down and long, okay? So start with the vision on the center. The center's job, get to line of scrimmage. It's called the sugar snap. Get to line of scrimmage. Look at everybody on the offense. Make sure they're set for 1 second. Once he puts his hand on the football, then the ball gets snapped. We're trying to catch the defense by surprise because third and long, you're anticipating pressure, and that's exactly what the Browns get, okay? You're going to get pressure, 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 and pressure. I'm going to put this guy in blue because that defender blitzing is the responsibility of the quarterback. You have to beat him with the throw. Now, when you get all-out pressure, that means you're going to get everybody in man coverage. That's a man situation, man situation, man situation. Now, when you get that, there's so much space down the field for Shedeur Sanders down here that if he drifts and beats that guy with the football, big play. That's exactly what he does. Third and long to start the game. That's outstanding by Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah.
So that's the good. Now you go later on to this drive. I'm going to go second and goal. Okay, this is second down in the red zone. Very similar situation to what we saw Fernando Mendoza with the other night when he got through a progression number 4, okay? Shedeur Sanders is going to motion the back out. He's going to set to the top of the screen and really read 1 to 2. Now, what I would say is, as you go 1 to 2, and there's this shallow and this to follow with his vision, neither of these guys is actually open. But it's second down in the red zone. Find a completion. Shedeur climbs the pocket. I would sit here and say right now, this ball goes to this shallow guy right now.
Yeah.
Instead of getting the ball there, second down, Shedeur is going to turn it into a scramble, and 2nd and 6 in the red zone becomes 3rd and 6 in the red zone. That ball has to go to that shallow quicker. Now we'll go to the next play. This is third down in the red zone. He sets to the bottom of the screen. I would say no one is open right now. Okay, it's third down in the red zone. As you climb the pocket, 2 things. 1, I hate this ball security in the red zone. You cannot do that. 2, that ball once again has to go right there. As a quarterback, if you have this shallow cross coming and this defender is sitting right there, all you have to do is put that ball on his inside shoulder. He catches, turns, gets vertical, and we have a conversion. We had second and goal, ball open in the middle of the field. If you're playing quick enough, it's not there. We have third down, ball open in the middle of the field. If you play quick enough, it's not there. Now he turns into a scramble once again, throws the check down up top. The defenders for Chicago rally. It becomes 4th and 1. The Browns do not convert on 4th and 1. And so is that nitpicking? Of course.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the decision-making in those critical moments, you still want to see him have more urgency with that. And so there was good. But I would sit there and say that still looks like Shedeur from a rookie year. And if you're trying to become the starting quarterback, those are decisions we have to make.
There are so many reasons, as we've discussed, why if everything worked out perfectly for the Browns, he would be their starter. They'd like to get a chance to see him, and they probably will one way or another. That was a first impression that we saw this weekend. Let's do some other first impressions. Dominique, who made the best first impression on you over this weekend?
I think Jacoby Lane, a receiver from Baltimore. I didn't love him coming out of the draft because he didn't really create a ton of separation, but he still has surprisingly good speed for somebody his size and enormous hands. It feels like all the highlights coming out of Ravens camp are Jacoby Lane one-hand snags. He's able to have a touchdown in this game, but he's been really impressive, surprising to me for his ability to make these incredible plays. I still think he has a ways to go before he can be a huge, impactful player for the Ravens, but it's nice to know that you have a promising guy, and the way that reporters and teammates are talking about Jacoby Lane sounds like he's doing some really impressive things.
Well, Zay Flowers got his money. Mark Andrews getting older. They could use another weapon, right?
Yeah. I mean, they have Bateman too, they have Bateman who hasn't had trouble staying healthy, but I think Jacoby Lane could be awesome for them in red zone situations. He's going to do well in contested catches situations, but he hasn't really created the separation that I think you would want for a high-level receiver.
All right, it's a name to remember. Graz, what made an impression on you over the weekend?
The Vikings run game, all this talk about the Vikings quarterback situation
situation. They opened the game with what I believe was about an 18-yard run by Aaron Jones here.
Yeah.
They made significant changes to this aspect of their offense. They brought in Frank Smith, who was the offensive coordinator for the Dolphins under Mike McDaniel, to install some new concepts that they really feel are going to have a benefit for whoever ends up being the quarterback. In this case, it's Kyler Murray, who, by the way, his mobility could help them evolve the run game even further. But that's what they're proud of for having changed, and that's what they're excited about in their offense heading into this season.
Yeah, I wasn't here last week to comment on it, and I'm sure everyone at least a little bit surprised at how early the Vikings named their starting quarterback of Kyler Murray. At minimum, I was surprised. I thought that that one would go on a little bit. I thought it would turn into a real full-fledged competition. It seems not really ever.
No,
J.J.
J.J. McCarthy didn't really make it into one, and they really felt like there's benefit in naming Kyler early because he's still learning the offense. He's new to the offense. McCarthy's not.
For sure. So fair enough. I'm not criticizing it. It took me a little bit by surprise, but I think that is an interesting question. The Vikings' defense has generally always been good. Murray comes in to elevate the passing game, but does his element, the element he brings, also elevate their running game?
Oh, of course. His dynamic athleticism changes a lot of the numbers for a defense. He's, since he's come into the NFL, he's not been Lamar and Jalen Hurts and Josh as a runner, but he hasn't been that far off. And so I'll be interested to see what the wrinkle that Kevin O'Connell adds to this. My philosophy on this whole situation in Minnesota is like, how does it not work? If Kyler plays okay, which for most of his career, that's kind of what Kyler's been, even though he's had moments that have been sensational. If he plays okay, you're sitting there going, how does this team not win 10 games? Top 10 offensive line, top 10 run game, one of the best skill groups in the NFL, add in Hawkinson, a defense that's going to be top 10. Like, this has got to go pretty south for it to not do fine.
I think what you said in the meeting this morning was it's the best place. What was the word?
I think it's the easiest. I said this last week.
Place.
It's the easiest place in the NFC to play quarterback outside of the Rams.
Because?
Of all those things I just
and
labeled.
The coach.
Yeah, there's a top 10 everything, some of the best everything. And so I think it's a layup in many ways for Kyler Murray to go play good football.
Yeah, I think, honestly, I get all your points on the offensive side of the ball. I think Kyler Murray plays well. I think the defense, I have more questions about it. As much as I like Brian Flores and that defense has been kind of regression-proof over the years, create big plays, I'm concerned about their ability to still have that effect with the blitz. Like, their blitz was less effective last year, and that's the key to these Brian Flores offenses. They confuse quarterbacks, and they get a ton of pressure, and they make them uncomfortable. They weren't as good doing that last year, and they lost some veteran players. Like, losing Grenard, I think, matters. I know people think Dallas Turner is going to step up and be there, but the big loss is Harrison Smith, which maybe he comes back or maybe he doesn't. Yeah. The complexity of that defense needs somebody on the field who can see it all and make those decisions. I would say maybe it's Murphy, but Murphy's in the slot. It's hard to see it all and make those decisions. So we'll see. Brian Flores is an incredible coach. He's not surprised by this. I love to see Caleb Banks, that rookie they have. If he turns into the player that they think he can, then they don't have to blitz as much.
That's for sure. Yeah, Harrison Smith could still come back. I know they've been in contact with him. They want it to be his decision, not theirs. But losing Jamal Adams in that game, who was making an impact in his short time there, maybe that hastens that.
We talked about the Packers and Bears a few minutes ago. You got the Bears, they have question marks. The Packers have question marks. You touched on the Lions having a few. And then the Vikings. I mean, right now, are the Vikings a playoff team this year?
If Kyler Murray looks anything like he did for most of the 2024 season, they're absolutely a playoff team.
Yeah.
What version of Kyler do they get?
I guess we're going to find out. All right, he was once upon a time the #1 overall pick in the NFL draft and burst onto the scene. I want to show you something that happened yesterday in Chicago. The Cardinals and the Cubs.